How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Personal Finance Takeover. My name's Sean. This is my co host, Fabian. And today's episode is going to be about savings and how it's actually losing you money in the long run. So let's go ahead and discuss that. But first, don't forget to download, like, comment, subscribe, depending on where you're listening to this. And if it really benefits you, please consider sharing it with one of your friends. All right, so let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. How is savings actually hurting you in the long run?
Yeah, savings currently is hurting you in the long run just because of how low the savings yields are at this time. If you look at the average, I think right now it's like 0.10%. If you look at brick and mortar traditional banks, but if you look at online banks, then you can get like a 0.5%. It's really low. So if you think about, the amount of money that you're placing in those accounts and just letting it sit there, you're only getting 0.5% a year in interest when inflation is rising faster than that. And then there's other opportunities to actually make your money work for you and actually grow faster. So other things like investing that can actually yield you a higher return and can, help accelerate the growth of your money.
Yeah, so this is one of the topics I want to talk about because I was talking to my mom recently and she's saving money for my niece. And what she's doing is she's putting it into a savings account and it's not earning very much money. So that's something where you're kind of missing out on so much benefit to investing that money, especially when it's for somebody that's very young and they have a lot of time to be able to let that money sit there and gain more money over time. So if you're sitting in a savings account, you're barely earning anything versus say you invest in S&P 500 or total stock market index. Something like that is going to average what 7% on a conservative level. So you're going to be much better off than that 0.5%. Even if it goes up to 1%, you're still going to be better off investing that money versus letting it sit in a savings account on top of inflation eating away at your savings. So that's where savings is actually losing you money because inflation is growing at a faster rate than your savings is. So you're losing buying power with that money over time.
Yeah, and then the earning potential just becomes a lot less if you're just letting it sit in the account. I think the one important thing you said was, having time on your side. So if you're just gonna, you just quickly want to, let the money sit for a year, 6 months or something, and just make a little bit of interest on it, then okay, it makes sense. But if you want to actually leave it in the long run, like you're looking 20, 30 years down the road, then investing is probably your best way to go just because your rate of return is a lot higher than if you were to just let it sit in a very low yielding interest savings account.
Yeah, so there's so many options out there, whether you invest in like the traditional stock market, S&P 500 or total stock market index, which we've talked about as being one of the most simple approaches to investing your money and having a conservative 7% return. So this is something if you have time on your hands, why not? Now let's also dive into when do you actually use savings like a savings account? So one example I can think of is emergency fund and maybe you're saving up for something that's short term, 6 months from now or a year from now, and you don't wanna risk it possibly going down.
Yeah, you don't want to risk the value going down. So even like a down payment for a house, that's something you probably don't want to keep in the stock market because given, any market condition, nothing is certain. You might lose value in the money that you actually put in. So it's better to, put in something that, it's liquid, something that it's a little bit more stable. And that way you retain the full value of that money you've saved up. Just do your research, whatever you feel comfortable in, and just make sure that, that any interest or anything you're gaining, it's beating inflation and actually helping you make more money.
Absolutely. So, just to recap, savings, it is losing to inflation if you're in a traditional savings account that's getting you, say, 0.5% or even up to 1%. And that's something that if you're holding your retirement money, say 20, 30 years down the road, you're going to be pulling this money out and it's sitting in a savings account, then it's losing buying power every single year that goes by because inflation is much higher than 0.5%. So you're losing buying power. The only time you would actually use a savings account is for short term savings, like say you're saving up for a down payment on a house or your emergency fund. You don't want to risk that losing value because the stock market could go up, it could go down. In the long run, it makes more than inflation. And that's something that we want to focus on is for long-term savings, I would invest it. For short-term savings, I'd put it into a savings account. All right, so thank you guys for watching the Personal Finance Takeover. As always, this is not financial advice. Do your own research with any type of investment that you do. And if you like this content, please download, like, comment, subscribe, and share with a friend if you found this valuable. All right, so thank you guys again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.